At 2:43 p.m., the sun hangs bright over Mavulus Island, a narrow strip of Philippine territory barely 8 miles long, surrounded by open sea and watched by too many eyes. 200 United States Marines move across coral and rock, digging fighting positions, rehearsing drills with Philippine forces, steady and methodical. This is a training exercise, but nothing about the island feels theoretical. 130 miles to the west, across blue water and political fault lines, China is watching. Radar stations on the mainland come alive. Consoles glow. Officers lean forward. Orders move fast. The decision is made without hesitation. 31 DF-16 ballistic missiles are armed, fueled, and pointed south. Their target is singular. The island, the Marines. Maximum effect. Maximum message. At 2:43 and 10 seconds, fire erupts across 6 launch sites in Fujian province. Missiles climb hard, tearing into the sky in perfect sequence. Space Force satellites see the thermal blooms instantly. Trajectories resolve. Impact time 4 minutes. The alert flashes across command networks. China has fired. On Mavulus Island, warning sirens cut through the afternoon heat. Marines drop tools and sprint. Boots pound rock as they dive for bunkers carved into the hills. Some are still exposed. 60 seconds feels like nothing. Colonel James Carter watches the clock and the sky, voice calm, orders clipped. Everyone move. Now, 12 miles offshore, 2 American destroyers register the launches. USS John Paul Jones, USS Mustin. Spy radar tracks multiply across the screen. Vampire, Vampire, 31 inbound. Captain Sarah Mitchell does not hesitate. Engage all threats. Launch SM-3. Interceptor missiles roar skyward. White spears chasing objects moving faster than sound. One by one they meet their targets above the atmosphere. Kinetic impacts. Clean kills. Chinese missiles vanish in silent flashes. But math remains cruel. 24 interceptors. 31 attackers. 7 survive the first layer. The destroyers shift instantly to terminal defense. SM-2 missiles leap from their cells, racing to meet the survivors as they plunge toward the island. 3 more threats disappear. For remain, the Philippine Navy frigate joins the fight. For the first time, its crew fires in real combat against ballistic missiles. 2 interceptors streak upward. 2 hits. 2 Chinese missiles destroyed. 10 seconds left. 2 still falling. The first warhead strikes the northern beach. Sand and debris explode outward, but the zone is empty. The second slams into the central hills, trees snapping, earth torn open. The bunkers hold. Silence follows. 31 missiles launched. 29 intercepted. 2 impacts. 0 Marine casualties. Even before the last explosions fade, retaliation is already airborne. On USS America, decks thunder as F-35 Bravo fighters leap into the sky, stealth wrapped in gray. Attack helicopters follow, rotors slicing the air. Across the Pacific, Japanese pilots receive the call. Authorization granted. Launch now. Tomahawk missiles leave their tubes in waves, skimming low and fast toward the Chinese coast. Stealth fighters arrive unseen, releasing precision weapons with clinical timing. Missile batteries vanish under pinpoint strikes. Command bunkers collapse. Ammunition depots erupt in chained fireballs. Radar sites go dark. Airfields are cratered. Ships threatening Philippine waters are reduced to burning wrecks. 29 minutes after the first Chinese missile launched, the exchange is over. 9 major military sites destroyed. Supporting infrastructure erased. Hundreds of weapons eliminated before they can be fired again. Allied aircraft return untouched. Allied ships remain unscathed. On Mavulus Island, Marines emerge from cover. Faces dusty, eyes steady. A roll call confirms it. Everyone present. No wounded. No dead. The island still stands. This was Operation Island Shield. A lesson written in minutes and measured in restraint and resolve. You do not fire on Marines and walk away. You do not strike Allied territory without consequence. The message carries across the water now, unmistakable and final. The Marines remain. The mission continues. And the balance has shifted. For Beijing, the calculations unravel in real time. Screens once confident now flood with damage reports, broken links, and silence where orders should be. What was meant to be dominance becomes exposure. Every launch revealed a position. Every radar sweep marked a target. The strike meant to terrify instead mapped the battlefield for the response that followed. In the sky above the Philippines, Allied aircraft operate with coordination. No broadcast, no declarations. Data flows through secure links, each movement deliberate, each weapon released with purpose. This is not chaos. It is procedure refined by decades of planning and shared doctrine. America does not act alone. Neither does Japan. Neither does the Philippines. Together they form a wall that moves faster than intimidation ever can. Back on the island, Marines reset their positions. Engineers inspect bunkers. Medics check for shock. Rifles are cleaned. Magazines reseated. Training resumes almost immediately because presence is the point. Leaving would invite the next test. Staying closes the argument. Across the region, commanders take notes. Allies see proof. Adversaries see cost. The lesson travels farther than any missile. Escalation did not come from panic or anger. It came from preparation. The defense held because layers existed. The counterstrike succeeded because authority was clear and unity unquestioned. By evening, the sea around Mavulus Island looks unchanged. Waves breaking against rock as they always have. But the strategic map is different now. Lines have hardened. Assumptions have cracked. A small island absorbed a storm and did not bend. History will not remember the exact sound of the sirens or the heat inside the bunkers. It will remember the outcome. 200 Marines targeted for annihilation walked away untouched. A warning meant to force retreat instead triggered a demonstration of collective resolve. Operation Island Shield ends without ceremony. No speeches, no flags raised, just aircraft recovering, ships resuming patrol, Marines holding ground. That quiet ending is intentional, because the strongest message is not shouted. It is enforced, and somewhere beyond the horizon, planners adjust their models, aware now that intimidation has limits, and that testing them can collapse an entire strategy in minutes. At dawn over the northern Philippines, Mavulus Island sits exposed, a thin spine of rock between Taiwan and the open Pacific. 200 American Marines train alongside Filipino partners, building, rehearsing, watching the horizon. This island is small, but its meaning is enormous. Control here shapes sea lanes, alliances, and credibility. Across the water, sensors track every movement. Diplomacy whispers, deterrence waits, and history balances on minutes. The exercise continues, calm on the surface, tension underneath, because proximity invites testing, and testing invites consequences no map can soften. Marines know this, and they keep moving, disciplined, deliberate, ready for impact. At 2:43 p.m., mainland radars flare to life. Orders finalize, codes confirm, and 6 Chinese launch sites prepare. The choice is blunt. Ballistic missiles, fragmentation warheads, maximum shock. 31 DF-16s ignite, rising fast, accelerating toward a single coordinate. Space sees heat blooms, vectors lock, clock start. For minutes, on Mavulus, sirens scream. Marines sprint for bunkers, boots scraping stone, breath tight. Colonel Carter steadies voices, directs movement, trusts preparation. Some remain exposed, seconds stretching thin. Fear exists, but training rules. Above, the sky hardens, blue turning hostile. As consequences descend at terminal speed, testing shelters, nerves, resolve, and fate together. 12 miles offshore, Aegis screens flood with tracks. USS John Paul Jones and USS Muston respond instantly. Captain Mitchell authorizes intercepts. SM-3s leap skyward, hunting targets beyond the atmosphere. Impacts flash silently. Missiles vanish. Layered defense unfolds by design, not luck. 24 interceptors cannot meet 31 attackers. Math bites, Survivors fall lower, faster. SM-2's launch, tightening the net. A Philippine frigate joins, firing decisively. 2 more kills. 2 impacts reach land, violent but evacuated. Bunkers hold. Silence follows. Roll call, all present. 0 casualties. Defense worked, because integration mattered, trust mattered, and seconds were saved by readiness, not miracles alone. While debris falls, authorization travels. Retaliation is immediate, lawful, overwhelming. On USS America, decks thunder as F-35B stealth fighters launch, sensors fused, weapons loaded. Attack helicopters follow, low and fast. Destroyers ripple Tomahawks, sea skimming toward Fujian. Japan answers the call, pilots airborne, rules clear. Targets are specific. Launchers, radars, command, logistics. Stealth arrives unseen. Stormbreaker bombs release in disciplined sequences. Missile batteries collapse, vehicles burn, crews scatter. Bunkers cave, depots erupt in chains. Airfields crater, eyes go blind. The strike is swift, synchronized, and decisive, turning aggression into liability. Minutes after the first launch betrayed its origin. Deterrence is restored. Allied coordination defines the outcome. Data flows seamlessly, commands align, escalation stays controlled. There is no chaos, only execution. Each weapon answers a purpose, each target closes a threat. Chinese coastal capability shrinks rapidly. Stocks vanish, repair nodes die, coordination fractures. Vessels harassing fishermen are sunk, unmistakable signals sent. Philippine aircraft strike nearby outposts, asserting sovereignty with partners overhead. The map redraws itself in real time, not with claims, but with effects. By design, allies share risk, share resolve, and share responsibility, proving collective defense is practical, credible, and faster than intimidation can adapt. The window closes, stability returns, lessons remain. On Mavulus, Marines emerge into light, dusted, intact, focused. Engineers inspect, medics check, leaders listen. Training resumes deliberately. Leaving would reward pressure. Staying affirms purpose. Presence matters here because vacuums invite miscalculation. The island holds, small but symbolic, anchoring commitments made in ink and steel. Sailors reload, aircraft recover, networks normalize. No speeches follow. The quiet ending is intentional. Strength need not shout. It demonstrates, documents, and deeters. Across the region, observers adjust assumptions, weighing cost against impulse. The exercise continues because stability requires endurance, not retreat, and because readiness proved its value under fire, not theory. Confidence replaces fear. For planners, the timeline matters. Detection to decision, minutes. Defense to counterstrike, minutes. Escalation contained, minutes. Speed denies leverage. Precision denies propaganda. Transparency denies doubt. The incident exposes a truth. Modern deterrence is architectural, built in layers across domains. Space QC. Sea shields land. Air answers decisively. Alliances compress distance, shrinking reaction times until advantage evaporates. Risk accumulates for attackers, not defenders. When tests fail, escalation reverses, revealing exposure instead of dominance. That realization travels faster than any missile, reshaping choices before launch orders finalize. Deterrence works best when understood beforehand, but lessons sometimes require demonstration, not debate, alone. International waters remain open, trade flows, exercises persist. The crisis closes without occupation, without annexation, without misstep. Law anchors action, alliances amplify effect. The message is narrow and firm. Attacks on forces invite response. Restraint preserves space. In capitals, officials brief, analysts model, markets breathe. The strait stays navigable. Fishermen return. Planes land. The extraordinary fades into record, but precedent lingers. Small islands can carry big weight, especially when backed by commitments honored in real time. Stability here is cumulative, earned through consistency, not spectacle. The day ends, but vigilance does not, because proximity endures, and so must resolve always. Operation Island Shield becomes shorthand for a principle, not a boast. Protect people, protect partners, protect norms. Avoid unnecessary harm, end threats decisively. The record shows discipline under pressure, integration across services, and unity across flags. It shows that preparation shortens crises, and that miscalculation compounds quickly. For those who watched, the takeaway is simple. Deterrence is credible when visible, measured, and rehearsed. For those who tested, the cost is clearer. No slogans required. Outcomes speak. Bases gone. Missiles wasted. Marines safe. Partnerships strengthened. Stability preserved. The ledger balances firmly against escalation, favoring restraint, readiness, and cooperation moving forward together. As night falls, the island quiets, waves steady, stars bright. Sentinels keep watch. Somewhere, plans are revised, assumptions recalculated, red lines reconsidered. The episode closes not with triumphalism, but with clarity. Peace here is maintained by competence, credibility, and community. The Marines remain where invited, allies remain aligned, and channels remain open. That balance is fragile, yet resilient, proven when tested. Operation Island Shield stands as a reminder that the shortest path away from conflict is preparedness, and that credibility buys time when tempers flare. The lesson endures. Never gamble against unity, never mistake restraint for weakness, and never test. Mavulus Island appears insignificant on most maps, a narrow strip of rock and scrub pressed between the Philippine Sea and the shadow of Taiwan. But geography does not measure importance by size. Here, sea lanes converge, alliances overlap, and credibility is tested in silence long before shots are fired. On this afternoon, 200 U.S. Marines train beside Philippine forces, running drills under a clear sky. Radios hum, boots grind gravel, and the ocean reflects calm that hides pressure building far beyond the horizon. Across the water, decision-makers watch the island through layers of sensors. They see the Marines not as trainees, but as symbols. Symbols invite challenges. In distant command rooms, options are weighed quickly, stripped of nuance. The plan chosen is blunt, designed for shock rather than dialogue. Ballistic missiles promise speed, finality, and fear. The calculation assumes isolation. A small island, limited cover, minimal time. The strike is meant to force withdrawal and redefine boundaries through violence rather than negotiation. At precisely 2:43 p.m., the atmosphere changes. Space-based sensors register thermal blooms across multiple Chinese launch sites. 31 DF, 16 ballistic missiles ignite almost simultaneously, clawing skyward before tilting toward the same coordinate. The launch signatures bloom like brief artificial suns. Computers count trajectories. Timers begin their unforgiving descent. On Mavulus Island, warning systems howl. Sirens cut through conversation. Training ends. Reality arrives. Marines scatter with disciplined urgency. There is no panic, only speed sharpened by repetition. Bunkers open. Doors slam. Some Marines are caught between positions, exposed under open sky as seconds evaporate. Colonel Carter's voice remains steady over the net, directing movement, confirming coverage, anchoring focus. The island feels smaller with each passing heartbeat. Above, the missiles arc unseen, already descending, their paths fixed, their intent indiscriminate. Offshore, 2 U.S. Navy destroyers detect the launches almost instantly. Aegis combat systems paint the sky with hostile tracks. There is no debate, only execution. Orders are crisp. SM-3 interceptors launch in rapid sequence, streaking upward to meet threats in space. Kinetic impacts bloom invisibly above the atmosphere. One missile disappears, then another, then several more. The shield is working, but the math is merciless. 31 attackers cannot all be stopped by a single layer. As surviving missiles descend, defenses tighten. SM-2 interceptors leap from destroyer decks, targeting the terminal phase. A Philippine Navy frigate joins the fight, firing its own interceptors in defense of sovereign territory. For the first time, Philippine forces engage ballistic missiles in combat. Explosions flicker high above, each one erasing a trajectory that moments earlier promised devastation. The final seconds stretch thin as two missiles slip through the layered net. The impacts are violent but contained. One missile detonates on a cleared beach, shredding sand and rock where Marines stood minutes earlier. The second strikes inland, tearing through trees and earth. Bunkers shudder but hold. Dust settles. Silence follows. Roll calls begin. One by one, voices answer. Every Marine is alive. No casualties. Against the odds, the island endures. But survival is only the first act. Even as interceptors flew, authorization moved faster. An attack on U.S. Marines triggers immediate consequences. From the deck of USS America, F-35B stealth fighters launch into the sky, invisible to radar, heavy with precision weapons. Attack helicopters lift moments later, skimming low over water. Destroyers ripple Tomahawk cruise missiles toward the coast. Japan authorizes support without hesitation. Allied aircraft turn toward shared targets. The counterstrike unfolds with machine precision. Stealth fighters cross the coastline undetected. Stormbreaker bombs fall in disciplined patterns, annihilating missile batteries before crews can scatter. Launch vehicles burn. Command trailers collapse. Fuel trucks erupt. Tomahawks slam into ammunition depots, triggering chain reactions that erase stockpiles measured in years. Radar sites go dark. Airfields crater. Maintenance facilities vanish in fire and smoke. Each target removed reduces the chance of repetition. Helicopters strike hostile vessels, harassing fishermen near the island. Hellfire missiles end the threat in seconds. Philippine aircraft hit nearby outposts, asserting control alongside allies. Japanese fighters destroy early warning radars, blinding surveillance networks. The strike is not chaotic. It is deliberate, proportionate, and devastating. Every action is documented, every weapon accountable, every effect measured. Within minutes, the architecture that enabled the attack ceases to exist. 29 minutes after the first missile launch, the exchange is over. 6 missile batteries are gone. Multiple depots, airfields, radar sites, and naval assets are destroyed. Hundreds of precision weapons have struck with surgical accuracy. Allied losses are zero. Not a single aircraft damaged. Not a single Marine wounded. The balance has shifted decisively, not through escalation, but through capability revealed under pressure. On Mavulus Island, Marines emerge cautiously from bunkers. Engineers inspect damage. Medics confirm the impossible outcome. Training resumes because leaving would concede meaning to the attack. Presence is the message now. Offshore, ships recover aircraft and reload systems. Command networks stabilize. The crisis fades from immediate danger into recorded history, but its implications ripple outward. For observers, the lesson is unmistakable. Speed matters. Integration matters more. Missile defense, air power, naval strike, and allied coordination formed a seamless response that denied objectives and imposed costs. The attack intended to intimidate instead exposed vulnerability. Deterrence did not fail here. It functioned exactly as designed, absorbing shock, protecting lives, and responding decisively without spiraling into uncontrolled war. As night settles over the island, stars reflect on calm water. Sentinels watch the horizon, aware that proximity will always invite tests. But now the calculus has changed. Assumptions have been rewritten in fire and restraint. Operation Island Shield becomes a reference point, not a slogan. A reminder that alliances are not abstract promises, but living systems that react faster than intimidation can succeed. The island remains small. The significance does not fade. Marines stay where they were invited. Partners remain aligned. Sea lanes stay open. Peace, fragile but real, holds for another day. The final message is clear without being spoken. You may launch missiles. You may seek shock. But against unity, preparation, and resolve, the result will always be the same.